May the 8th, 1945. Germany surrenders and World War II officially ends in Europe. The Nazis are defeated and millions of people are saved from oppression. However, 1945 did not mark the true end of the Nazi legacy, as the notorious leaders of the Third Reich left yet another mark on the globe: their children. In this video, we will explore the lives of these children post-World War II, analyze what they went on to accomplish, and see how they managed to live with the weight of their ancestry. So let's take a look, shall we? Monika Goeth. Monika Hertwig, formerly Monika Goeth, was the daughter of Armin Goeth. Born on the 7th of November 1945, she was not privy to the realities of life in World War II and never saw the atrocities that her father committed. In fact, she was only a year old when her father was convicted of murder on a mass scale and sentenced to death by hanging. Growing up, Monika was told stories of her father, mostly by her mother, who painted him as a good family man and a war hero. The reality, however, couldn't be further from the truth. You see, Armin Goeth was not just a member of the Nazi Party. He was the commander of the Krakow-Plotzau concentration camp from February the 11th, 1943 to the 13th of September, 1944. During these years, approximately 30,000 Jewish people were imprisoned and subjected to inhumane living conditions. Furthermore, it's been reported that of those 30,000, almost 5,000 Jews were killed at the Krakow-Plotzau concentration camp. Armin Goeth was personally responsible for between 30 and 90 of those deaths. Monika didn't learn of these truths until she was a young adult, and it took her years more to grapple with the realities of her heritage. After coming to terms with the actions of her father, Monika has since tried to right the wrongs of the Goeth name by helping create the film Inheritance, a documentary depicting Monika's struggles to accept her father's legacy and her ultimate attempt to rectify her family's wrongs. In the process of creating this documentary, Monika met up with a woman named Helen Jonas, who, as a child, was forced to work as her father's personal maid and learned firsthand the type of man her father was. Ultimately, Monika Hertwig has managed to live a fulfilling and generous life, despite being the daughter of a man as violent as Armin Goeth. Yet you can only imagine the weight that she must carry every single day simply because of her family's name. However, the story of the 6 Goebbels children is not quite so bittersweet. The Goebbels children. Josef Goebbels, born in 1897, was as important to the rise of the Nazis as Hitler himself. He served as the district leader of Berlin before assuming the role of Minister for Public Enlightenment and Propaganda in 1933. Under this position, Goebbels did all that he could to promote the ideology of the Nazi regime. He burned the works of Jewish authors, he promoted the segregation of Jewish people on the radio, he praised Hitler in the media. His mastery over propaganda put the people of Germany on the Nazis' side, cementing their political dominance. Goebbels was also Hitler's most loyal servant and would stay by him through anything. Even when Nazi defeat was inevitable, Goebbels remained by Hitler's side, choosing to stay hidden in Hitler's bunker with his family during the Soviet invasion of Berlin in April 1945. Eventually, when Soviet troops broke through the gates and marched through the city of Berlin, Goebbels took matters into his own hands. Feeling he had no other option, he turned to each one of his children and then to his wife, fatally poisoning each one of them before taking his own life. Reports vary on exactly what he did, but most sources suggest that he handed each member of his family a cyanide pill. Thus, none of the Goebbels' children lived to see the end of World War II. Klaus von Schirach. Born in 1935, Klaus von Schirach was just old enough to truly digest the events of World War II, and during his childhood, he became a witness to the sheer power of the Nazi propaganda machine. You see, Klaus's father was none other than Baldur von Schirach, who served as the head of the Hitler Youth between the years 1931 and 1940. This organization had the sole purpose of brainwashing Germany's youngest generation by indoctrinating them into Nazi ideology and teaching them how to fight in war. By the start of World War II, this organization had essentially created a production line of Nazi soldiers and dramatically increased the Nazis' military power. Deemed responsible for the power of this movement, Baldur von Schirach was found guilty of crimes against humanity in 1946 and sentenced to 20 years in Spandau prison, situated in Berlin. Because of his father's incarceration, Klaus von Schirach thus grew into adolescence without a father figure. And while little has been reported, it seems that he had no desire to remain in contact with his father upon release. Rather, Klaus von Schirach has opted for a life of relative normality. Instead of staying in the limelight, he chose to go to university to study law and has also branched into journalism. Little else is known about his personal life. Horst von Wächter. Horst von Wächter, the son of Otto Wächter, was born in 1939, so like the others on this list, was not old enough to comprehend the violence and complexity of the Second World War. However, unlike the other children discussed in this video, Horst von Wächter has only ever supported the actions of his father. He has even gone as far as to suggest that his father was forced into his actions and was just another cog in the Nazi regime. However, when you look at the actions that Otto Wächter committed as a member of the Nazi Party, it's difficult to comprehend Horst's arguments. Because Otto Wächter was not just a mere member of the Nazi Party. Rather, he assumed the role of governor of the district of Krakow after German forces took control of Poland in 1939. And upon assuming the role, Otto Wächter quickly ordered the removal of over 60,000 resident Jews before building a ghetto which housed a further 15,000. He tortured, killed, and discriminated. He believed in the Nazi ideology down to his core and seemed to enjoy ruining tens of thousands of lives. Yet these facts have been disputed by Horst, who to this day mistakenly believes that his father was forced to commit these actions. Otto Wächter was also able to evade retribution from Allied forces from 1945 to 49, before finding refuge in the Vatican City. However, he died just a few months later from a kidney disease. This too has been questioned by Horst, who believes that his father's death may have been the work of something more sinister. Now, it's easy to judge Horst from afar and judge his support for his father as twisted or even delusional. However, in his eyes, all he has ever done is love his father as every son does. He has and will continue to be binded by such allegiance and will never fully comprehend the true impact of his father's actions. Nicholas Frank. Nicholas Frank, born the son of the infamous Nazi Hans Frank, has, like Monika Herpfig, spent his life tackling the realities of being a living memory of the brutality of the Nazis. His father, once dubbed the Butcher of Poland, held perhaps one of the most powerful positions in the Nazi regime as Governor General of Poland. Through his position, Hans Frank diminished the lives of Polish Jews, segregating them via ghettos and eventually murdering them after subjecting them to countless hours of labor. When he was eventually captured by Allied forces, he was shown no mercy. Being found guilty of crimes against humanity, for his actions he was executed in 1946. Born in 1939, Nicholas Frank was therefore just 7 years old when he witnessed the death of his father. And though he was not old enough to remember the events of World War II, he has devoted his life to demonizing the actions of his father, whom he has openly expressed a deep hatred for. Such efforts have led to Nicholas releasing an array of books, almost all of which seek to do one thing: destroy his father's legacy. For instance, in 1991, he released In the Shadow of the Reich, a book which labeled his father as a slime hole of a Hitler fanatic. Nicholas has also devoted much of his time to raising awareness about the realities of the Holocaust, in an attempt to dismantle the legacy of his father further. Rolf Mengele. And now let's take a look at the last person on this list, Rolf Mengele. Born in 1944, Rolf was the son of a particularly evil Nazi, nicknamed the Angel of Death, Josef Mengele. Josef Mengele was one of the Nazi Party's highest-ranking physicians, and throughout the World War II era, he performed countless genetic experiments upon innocent concentration camp prisoners. His mind was so twisted, in fact, that he even personally administered lethal gas in Auschwitz's notorious killing chambers. Thankfully, Rolf Mengele was raised away from Auschwitz and did not see his father's experiments firsthand. However, as a youth, he was fed misinformation about his father, who was portrayed to him as a war hero and a good, honest man. It was not until much later in his life that he would learn the truth. Upon the Nazis being defeated by the Allies, Josef Mengele was able to flee to South America, effectively escaping certain execution. Catching wind of this, Rolf traveled to see his father in 1977. When they met, Rolf realized the true extent of his father's evil nature, who had no remorse for the pain that he had inflicted on thousands. Witnessing such evil firsthand led Rolf to cut all ties with his father. And though he didn't turn his father into the authorities, Rolf Mengele also couldn't live attached to the name of such a twisted man. And so after returning back to Europe, he changed his identity and has since disappeared from the public light to try and live a normal life. Reports suggest that he now has a family and is living a relatively pedestrian life in Germany. Well, that's it. We hope you enjoyed our video. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more fascinating history content. Thanks for watching, and until next time.